Hey everyone, welcome to this week's American Mussar Community Gathering. This will be our second week exploring the soul trait of honor, which is kavod in Hebrew, dear. Okay, the kitten is getting a little rambunctious, so I think we're gonna need to get down. There you go.
Oh,
And I give her too much honor by letting her tear up my clothes. Um, So friends, let's relax and close our eyes for a little opening meditation as we always do. So relax in your seat and take in a deep breath through the nose and hold. And exhale through the mouth and hold. And inhale through the nose and hold. And exhale through the mouth and hold. And as you go at your own pace, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. If thoughts should come into your head, just observe them and let them pass, like watching a car move past on the road. Now is not the time for solving problems. Right now, all you need to do is just inhale through the nose and hold, and exhale through the mouth and hold. And on your next inhale, say to yourself, Shema, and on the exhale, listen. Shema, listen. And Shema, we're listening deeply, without judgment, without offering advice. In Shema, we are listening with an open heart. Shema, listen. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes. Be more hellos to Bonnie and Sarah, Paul and Janet, Stephanie, Marjorie and Harry. Hello, all. Okay, so I have us starting with a slightly longer reading than we usually do. I'm hoping that people can connect to it, but we will see. So may I have a volunteer to unmute and read this?
I'll read it.
Okay, great, thanks.
Me?
Yeah,
What are garments of honor? Aaron and his sons will dedicate their lives to serving the divine. In return, their community enfolds them in these beautiful garments made to reflect their innate honor and beauty. Today, there are no priests and no temple in which to serve. Instead, each of us serves the divine in the temple of our own hearts, offering words and intentions instead of bulls and sheep. What would it mean to dress ourselves in garments like these? Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt.
thank you, Janet. So I will put this into the chat since there's a couple ideas to percolate on here. There was a section, as you recall, this is from our portion we've read within the last month, creating the priestly garments. They're really gorgeous with all kinds of purples and multicolors. And so Rabbi Barenblatt is saying that, these colors are because of their service and as a way of saying thank you to them. They sort of created these, but we don't serve in the temple in the same way, and we kind of serve the divine and ourselves. So what might it mean to kind of dress ourselves in sort of beautiful garments? Does that mean like dressing for success? Is there some metaphorical meaning that speaks to you? Yes, Bonnie and then Marjorie.
So I could look at it very superficially, which said, and maybe it's not so superficially because I'm a shopper, which says, as my sister's kids would say, what are your shul clothes?
Hmm.
That there, to me, there is a way that I dress on Friday night and Saturday that is a little more formal than, and I don't wear sweats. It's just anyone who knows me knows it's just not my style, even during the pandemic. But I wear a pair of trousers and a nice blouse and a jacket. So at that level, it's how do you present yourself in a synagogue setting, in a service setting? But above and beyond it, I think it's how you behave.
Hmm.
There is, I believe, that Judaism has, whether it's written or whether it's been passed down, is that there is a way that you treat other people. And it is written and it is also passed down. But I believe that Judaism has a structure and part of belief that you treat people differently. You treat them well.
Hmm.
You expect the best, not the worst.
Hmm.
And I think that's where it refers, not just when you're in a synagogue, but the way you behave in a store,
Hmm.
the way you behave to your friends or your family. I think Judaism has those values built in, and
Hmm.
that's what I read from that.
Thank you, Bonnie. Beautifully said. Marjorie, you had your hand up for a moment. Did you want
Yeah,
to speak? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I lowered it because you acknowledged it.
Okay.
Well, I'm kind of repeating what Bonnie said. Shabbat, well, just going to shul, unless of course it's Purim. Um, we should honor our surroundings by not wearing what we wear during the week. And I have one little blurb I'm going to read. It's from Paneni Halacha, and it says, of course, did I lose it? Oh, one who is spending Shabbat alone should still dress up because the clothes are not meant to honor the people who see them, but to honor Shabbat.
Hmm.
I would extend that to the holiday, to the Yamim Noraim, the high holidays, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. Um, yeah, it's just a way to honor your surroundings.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Paul and then Janet.
Yeah, I was reading this and I've got a different take on what you provided for us, Greg. And it was the idea that the community is enfolding Aaron and his sons to honor them. So I think that what Bonnie and um, thank you, Marjorie, has said I mean, that's perfectly valid, obviously. But this is what I was reading is a different perspective, which is that the community, themselves said, no, we're going to honor you because of the service you were providing. And that's a little bit different. So I think it's really,
No, you can't do that. No, no. You can't lick it. Come here.
Marjorie,
so
next.
anyway, it's really interesting that there are ways in which a community can make sure that groups of people or individuals who are providing service that we have in the secular world, we have different kinds of awards that are given to people because they've done certain things. So in the secular world, it's similar to that. And anyway, I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Paul. Janet.
What we put on ourselves just as what we eat and what we speak are forms of behavior. And so we honor people by what we say and what we wear. We can take it to extremes. There are clothes horses. I used to be a fashion writer in a former life, and I can certainly address, the people who go to all the openings, but that's not what this is about. I remember when years ago when I had a Rosh Hashanah dinner and somebody showed up as if you were going to mow the lawn, and I was put out. Now I realize that he dishonored himself. He didn't really dishonor me.
Mm.
Mm.
But beyond the superficial, self-esteem is reflected in many ways, and esteem for other people is as well. And clothing is one of these ways.
Thank you, Janet. Sue, and then Karen, and then Joanne.
So I had two thoughts when I first read it, and I would agree with Bonnie about the clothing, thinking and knowing that when I go to shul, I change what I'm wearing during the day and I wear something maybe a little nicer. So that was the first thing. And the other thing I thought of is the talitot, the talits that I wear when I go on Saturday morning. And to me, that's this extra special garment that I'm wearing to honor God, as well as the kippah. So I wanted to throw that into the mix as special clothing that I don't wear anywhere else. So I might wear the same pants, somewhere else, but I'm never going to wear that talit unless I'm in the synagogue.
Yeah, so that helps make it a distinct and special experience for you. Great, thank you. Karen.
So I understand dressing out of respect for others and for a situation, but I don't think anyone here has mentioned yet how the way we dress affects our own mood and behavior.
Mm.
And just as an example, when my children were younger and they would come to shul, I wanted them to dress because I had seen evidence before of when they dress up, their behavior is different. I want to say, I hate to have children be adults, but I want to say, more adult-like, but maybe more polite, more respectful.
Mm.
And when they're very casual, you sit differently, I think. And maybe not for everybody, but I just thought that was worth mentioning, is that maybe it was known long ago that not only do we dress out of respect for others sometimes, but the way we dress may influence how we sit, how we talk, how we act, and how we react.
Yeah, thank you. So by extension, by the community creating these clothes for Aaron and Aaron's sons, maybe they were trying to communicate a set of expectations for what
Exactly.
Mm.
they wanted them to show up. Very interesting. Thank you, Karen.
Mhm.
Joanne.
Yeah, so I agree with what Karen was saying, and I think, having a certain higher level of dressing for Shabbat and holidays, I think that really does affect how I feel, and I also put more jewelry on that I don't necessarily wear during the week. And I also wear my wig because I look so much better in it. And so I think it does affect my behavior, though I have to say the little kids who are running around, I don't know. Even if they're wearing like very frilly dress, the girls in their very frilly dresses, they're still like not behaving very well. But maybe they would be worse. But also I guess because I go to an Orthodox shul, I can't wear a tallis because it's like against the rabbi's wishes and probably a lot of the guys too. But he said I could wear a kippah, and sometimes I even put the kippah over my wig, even though the wig is already covering my head, because I feel like it doesn't register as that,
Mhm. Yeah.
as covering my head. And my rabbi did say that adult women should cover their hair. So, I don't go in for the shadel, but I like to put the little kippah on, and also when I'm in a class, but I don't always do that. So what's my point? I don't know. I think it does make a difference to how I feel
Mhm.
and my intention, like it's being there to engage with my higher power, or whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
and have a higher standard for myself of behavior, which has been terrible today and lately. But that's a whole other story. But yes, I think it makes a very big difference. And I also like the idea that is in Orthodoxy of tznius, which is modesty. So we're not there to show off our abs or our wonderfully developed arms or whatever, or to distract somebody by the way we look. So
Thank you,
I'm
Joanne.
trying to incorporate that into my vocabulary, mental vocabulary. Thank you.
Thank you. Hiya.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna throw it the other direction, to be honest. I mean, I think that this has been me for most of my life, that this whole idea of what you wear or how you look, that is really cool that they were given these special garments, and I can accept that as a gift of what they're saying. But that doesn't make them who they are. Who they were already. So therefore, people gave them a gift, and this was their gift. I'm not sure that I can agree with. I started thinking about, well, do I wear something special? Well, my special thing for Shabbat, I don't know that I change my clothes a whole lot, but it's wearing my talit, so that I'm in a place by putting the talit on, is I'm coming into this space of my heart and of the Holy One, and I'm not ready to go dance whatever. But I've always fought the concept of how I dress, because not all of us can even, I don't necessarily, I mean, I don't know that we can all, first of all, afford different clothing, and also what is considered appropriate here might be not appropriate there, depending on what you are. And I just want to go and be there wherever I am to honor the people that I'm with, whether it be just a friend, but being, so I don't agree with clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Kaya. And sometimes our presence is the way that we honor others, that we honor the occasion. We're going to hear from Marjorie and then Karen, because I saw your hand go up and down, and then I wanted to share something, and then we'll hear from Joanne.
Before, who just spoke? Kaya, right?
Yeah.
Okay, before she spoke, I just started thinking about, there are people that come to my shul and they're in jeans and they're in t-shirts, they're not all, as we say in Yiddish, fapits. They don't get all dressed up. And possibly we wear our intentions. You come in with that kavanah of that, which means intention of being reverent. You're in services, or if you're going to dinner, or even you're going to somebody's home. I do think I think cleanliness plays into that, but I do think that it's not always the physical garment. I think that we wear, we bring, I think your sort of your
Mm.
presence. I think we wear our presence
Mhm.
sometimes also.
Not what we wear, but how we show up.
Say it again.
It's not what we're wearing, but it's how we show up.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, great point. Okay, Karen.
So based on what Chaya said, I'm going to revise my comment about dressing somewhat differently to show up at shul. But Chaya, you said you put on a talis. And so maybe what I wanted to say is that we find a way to dress, or and with yours it was just putting on a tali. It was something that puts you in the frame of mind of where you want to be and what you want to do.
Thank you. All right, we'll hear from Joanne and then I'll share my comments.
What's that forgot already what I was going to say. Oh yes, just this very short. So one of my favorite people in synagogue, not used to come and help out at a communal meal that was for a Yom Tov, the holiday, in like dungarees and like a really ratty looking dungarees and ratty looking flannel shirt or something. And I felt like that was like disrespectful to everyone else, because this is our Yom Tov and we want to be in that feeling. And then you see someone who's sort of like, I don't know, just thumbing her nose at it. That's what I felt. And actually, she doesn't do that anymore. She wears like, even if it's slacks and a knit shirt, it's nice slacks and it's a nice knit shirt. And I mean, I can't afford expensive clothing, but I like to, make little outfits or accessorize, or, and it doesn't have to be expensive. It's just has to be, like I say, respectful of yourself and others. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. So I've loved everyone's commentary and it was really wonderful. I think for me, I went in a little bit more of a metaphorical direction because Rabbi Berenblatt was talking about serving the divine in our own hearts and offering words and intentions. So I was a little bit more along the lines of what Marjorie said about kind of how do I show up? And I was thinking, today I got this email, which kind of annoyed me a little bit. And I was going to forward it on to my wife with a little bit of a snarky comment. And I was just like, I don't want to show up in that way. Like, I don't want to be that person who's going to pile on with those comments because it's not going to, I knew partly I knew she had a busy day and she had a lot going on. And so it wasn't going to make her any day any better. And it also wasn't going to make my day any better. And I was certainly not serving the divine. I'm like, I have better things to do than to kind of get a little about some particular email. So that was kind of what it made me think about, within this realm of kind of honoring. I wanted, how did I want to show up with my words and my comments. Okay, so let's go a little bit deeper, and thank you all. As I said, this was a little bit of an experiment. I didn't kind of know where we would go with this, and we went to a lot of places. So a much different look at honor, how we treat other people. So I think we've looked at this text before, but I think it's so good we should look at it again. May I have a volunteer to unmute and read?
I'll do it.
Okay.
How to treat others. Excuse me. The ultimate value you can give a person is to treat a person seriously, to take notice of that person, even just say hello. I've noticed you shows that a person that they are valued. Their presence has not gone unnoticed. When you treat a person lightly and you don't acknowledge them, you sit at a table and talk to all your friends, ignoring the one who sits by themselves, who are stripping this person of their value, in effect, giving them a curse.
Thank you. So that's from Rabbi Shlomo Volbe,
Oh.
who was one of the great Mussar masters of the 20th century. He actually, Ali Shor is kind of his, greatest work, and he requested that it never be translated into English. So you
No.
find a published version. You'll only get people who translate a paragraph here and there.
Mm.
But there's also the Hebrew word for kavod is the same root as kaved, meaning heavy. So when he's saying treating a person lightly,
Mhm.
He's also playing off the Hebrew
Mhm.
a little bit. So I'm going to stop the share. And once again, I will put this in the chat. So I would like to know what strikes you about this? What stands out as to you as something you agree with or disagree with? Sue and then Frank.
I had two thoughts. One is how we value the stranger. That's what made me think of it. The person that's sitting there by themselves and how important. And we say this 36 times in Torah, that you should always go to the person that's by themselves or that seems to be the stranger, and how important that is. The person that's sitting there by themselves. So that really struck me. And the other thing is that one thing that we used to do with our kids when they're little, we'd have them say something good that they did during the week at our Shabbat table. And one of the things, it could be opening the door for somebody.
Mm.
And that actually is something I do to this day. Is like I try to open doors and then just smile at a person. And that's what that reminded of. So you can do something very simple like that,
Yeah.
not even say hello, but open a door, and that's a really wonderful way to acknowledge a person and to be helpful.
Yeah, no, I love that. And that's very much in the spirit, I think, of what Rabbi Volbe was talking about. It's like you're making that person seen. I see you enough to spend an extra 5 seconds holding the door for you. You matter. You're more important to me than these 5 seconds. And if you were saying, what, you're less important to me than these 5 seconds, that's the insulting part, Frank.
Mhm.
Yes. Let's see. I think that there's two parts here. One is showing honor, and one is giving honor. And the previous conversation was to show honor, and that's predicated on our culture,
Hmm.
uh, and that can be vicious.
Hmm.
But it could be also kind. So the thing is that the question I have is, would I, and the question is not for you but for me, would I say hello to somebody who comes in to shul on a Saturday, on a Shabbos, in jeans and in a t-shirt?
Hmm.
Because by me saying hello to them and giving them that honor, that recognition, I think that's important. And I must admit that I have tested my society for a long time with this question.
Hmm.
And the question was, what was I noticed? How did people note me?
Hmm.
That I was a hippie with long hair, or that I had a soul and caring?
Hmm.
I got over that.
Thank you so much, Frank.
Mhm.
Bonnie.
So I coordinate the greeters at one of the synagogues I belong to. And several months ago, we have a guard, unfortunately, and double door entrances. And the guard signaled me and pointed to a young man who was dressed in jeans and a jacket and a helmet and a
Oh.
water bottle attached to the top of the helmet and a skateboard. So as he entered into the Mirkaz, into the open area that we have when you come through the second set of doors, I went up and went to introduce myself. And I have my name tag on. And he looked at me and he said, "You are my Hebrew high school teacher."
Oh.
I did not recognize this kid at all. At all. Including FS, no recognition.
Mhm.
He said, "Oh, I remember the classes I took with you." What? So, so I said, "I'm sorry, I don't remember your first name. I don't remember his last name. I don't remember him at all. I'm being very honest with you all."
Mm,
And he told me his name, and I said, "Welcome back to Beth David. And are you familiar with the Siddur? And do you want to sit next to me?" And blah, blah, blah. And then I called his mom after Shabbat. And she said, this young man has many serious emotional issues.
Mm.
And I was so glad that he came to synagogue and that you were there.
mm,
Mm.
And there's no question that's God's working in my life.
mm,
I was the one at the door, at the table at that time when he came in.
Mm.
The guard wasn't going to let him in.
mm.
Yeah.
So this rang so true to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving me that opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Bonnie, for sharing that beautiful story. And yeah, there is, a real trade-off when, we have guards or when we see someone who may look different. And, I've heard some very painful stories of, people who are Jews of color, who they go to the synagogue and it's like, what are you doing here? Are you thinking of converting? It's like, well, my great grandparents were Jewish, and so there are some really um, thoughtless things that people can say, which are very hurtful and alienating. And so, keeping ourselves in that receptive space, as I like to say, the proper way to greet someone, if you see them in a shul, whatever they may look like, is Shabbat Shalom. If it's Shabbat. If it's not Shabbat, you probably don't want to say that, but assuming
Just
it's
say
Shabbat.
shalom.
Shelley.
So, not being Jewish, but many Jewish friends. So I'm always blessed to come here. So thank you for inviting me all the time. Somewhat busy. But I'm the kind of person that I believe that we impact every person that we come into contact with. Just even walking down the street and saying to that woman that maybe has a faraway look on her face, and who knows what is going in her mind and her perception, but I will always look at somebody and find something about what they're wearing or to compliment them. And we don't realize that when we do that for somebody, just to acknowledge somebody, you have no idea how far that impact will go with them through the rest of the day. They might have been in a sad mood, and then all of a sudden they have this sense of happiness and joy and love in their heart because somebody has acknowledged them. And that person could, for the rest of their life, comment, "Oh my God, this girl, crazy girl on the street, stopped me and commented on my shoes." Right. And they're my favorite shoes. Right. So, I always say it's so important to recognize that we are part of each other. And, what is happening with you is happening with me, but we all have our own different perspective of it. And, I always say that if we have an obstacle, that there's always somebody in a group that's going to have the solution. So, not to be afraid to speak up either, because realistically, I'm somewhat of a shy person. And even though I do speak out, but, sometimes when I'm in a big group of people, I kind of just pause and I observe and then maybe I find that one person that I go, okay, I'm going to go talk to them first of all. But, it's very momentous for me to actually go to everybody. So, I always hit my heart the minute I walk out the door, and I'm like, okay, I'm putting on my armor. I'm putting on my armor of love to humanity, right? So I think it's really important, to recognize, that, yeah, you might see somebody walking down the street wearing pajama bottoms and you think, oh, that's funny. But then I think to myself, well, wait a minute, Shirley, that's your judging. That could be their most comfortablest clothes. That maybe is all that they have. So, instead of saying, oh, wow, I go, wow, I love your pajama bottoms. Like, I wish I had a pair, like just acknowledging, because we really don't know what's going on in people's lives. Right. And so I always say, just give love to everybody. So that's me.
Well, thank you, Shelley. And I'm so, so glad you were able to join us today. You're so welcome here, and I so enjoy your contributions. So
Thank you.
whenever you're here, it's a blessing to the group. Kaya.
Yeah, first of all, I want to say,
Toby, and then
Shelley,
Terry.
I totally agree with what you're saying. I mean, I was just down. I was aware how things were different. I was down in Tucson last week for a week, and actually it was 2 Thursdays. But I really, I'm whoever I meet, wherever I meet them, I find something to communicate with them, or just even looking and wave. I mean, I can't believe I was at a Van Gogh exhibit in Tucson. I started talking to somebody, find out they actually have connections to Minneapolis. So but I cannot stop from, I mean, I can't judge a person or make even thoughts based on what they look like. I mean, if I'm a little different now, but if you saw my tummy, maybe a year ago, you'd kind of go, oh, she doesn't have any control of what she eats or something. I don't know. I have some, health issues, but there's just so many things that our society and our TV tells us to think and to believe, instead of going, who is that person? I bet you they're really cool. And I mean, I just have to stop and say, I mean, I connect with whoever I'm by.
Thank you, Kaya. Toby, and then Harry.
Along those same lines, about 2 years ago, I was very, very sick, and I managed to see 14 different specialists and do all kinds of tests and horrible things. And this was partly during the pandemic, and so it was like double awful. And at the time I was studying Mussar, I just started studying Mussar, and I forget what it might have been kavod. I don't remember if it was kavod or alacrity or one of those, but one of the midot, the Kabbalah for that midot, said you needed to be the first to say hello to people, to everybody. And I'm like many of you have said, I'm not a particularly outgoing person. And prior to that, I probably would have rather stuck a needle in my eye than, be the first to say hello. Not to be too graphic or anything, but I would not have been the first person to say hello. But I felt so miserable. And, you're in the doctor's office. It's already not wonderful. And the rest of the people in the doctor's office are there not because they have a holiday and want to spend it in the doctor's office. And so if I saw someone who was sitting by themselves, I would go and sit next to them and I would say, hi, I wish I was somewhere else other than here. Or it started conversation. I had stupid, hey, I have a cat. Do you have animals? Or, whatever. And whatever came out of my mouth, but sometimes was probably not the most appropriate thing. But the idea is that, number one, it was really helpful for me to get out of my comfort zone and to say something. But the reciprocal, when you're sick, you can probably, well, I can speak for myself. When I'm sick, I can kind of sense that other people might not be terribly happy and things like that. And we start a conversation about whatever, and then the doctor would call one of us or whatever. But I always felt like, hopefully, that 1 minute had made that person's day a little bit less awful. And so now I'm kind of stuck doing it, even though I'm not sick anymore. So for what, and I shouldn't say stuck. I enjoy doing. Now I am that person who starts up conversations in doctor's waiting rooms. So if I'm ever in a waiting room next to you and I start talking to you, just smile and say hello. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Toby. I'm sure you've improved a lot of people's days with that practice. And there was a section in the Talmud which says, Rabbi so-and-so would always greet everyone in the marketplace before they could greet him, even Gentiles. And the even Gentiles, that's to say that there are people different from him. And maybe people who would not be interested. If you're going to greet the Roman who persecuted Jews, that's a little risky. But nonetheless, he felt that was an important way of honoring other people as so you are this rabbi's spiritual descendant, Toby, I think. Harry, then
Yes.
Karen, and then we're going to do breakout groups.
Okay, a couple points. Judaism is a very social, connected religion. You need 10 people to say Kaddish, take out the Torah. So it's embedded in our faith, in our religion, to be connected. And the other thing that's happening, there's a recent article that I read about the Great Awakening. Many Jews are coming back and honoring their Judaism and going back to synagogue. And I wonder if the gentleman that came to Bonnie's synagogue was coming back because of October 7th and wanted to connect to Judaism. So there is a great awakening, and so there'll probably be a lot more strangers coming in, and it's wonderful that we're welcoming. If you're a welcoming community, so it's something to think about.
Thank you, Harry. Karen, did you have a comment you wanted to make?
I was going to, but I changed my mind. Thank you.
Okay. All right, well, I'm going to put in the chat. Today, when we go into breakout rooms, it'll be kind of one of the little homework weeks where these are some of the suggested actions. Look for the divine spark in every person you meet. Look for the good when you notice yourself judging others. Greet others before they greet you, as Toby has talked about. Eliminate one shaming behavior. Write a list of people who you will treat with more or less honor. Meaning maybe someone you're being a little too obsequious to that could just kind of back off a little bit, or you just want to realize that maybe you're overlooking them a little bit. So take a look at those and think, and with your partner in the breakout room, see what is it you want to work on in the coming week. Okay, so the rooms are open. We'll have like maybe 9-ish minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello, friends. Welcome back. It's always a good sign when no one is jumping back in early. Use every second. Yeah, there. So would anyone care to share maybe an insight they'd had or a practice they're going to take on, maybe starting with people we haven't heard from yet? If you haven't spoken today and would like to, you may, but that is, of course, totally up to you. We can open the floor up further then for others. Harry, I don't know if you're trying to unmute there or no.
I'll be very honest. We're trying to figure out how they can meet me in Manhattan in September when I'm in for my high school reunion, and they live on Cape Cod. And we've met because of Mussar.
That's
Well,
nice.
that's what a great honoring practice is, to get together in person.
That's how Karen and I met too. And it turns out
Mhm.
that she and I went to the same high school. I'm much
Ah,
older than she is. Yeah, small world.
mhm.
Joanne?
So we were talking about how difficult it is to see the divine spark in some people, especially when they're being abusive, basically. And I think it's, you can't do that. I mean, I think it's easier when someone's face to face with you or near you, and you start a conversation or something. And I remember doing that in one of our exercises, like to people on the street. And, if some three jerks in a car scream out something to you that's not nice, how do you see the divine spark in that? All right, but I said, don't even try it. It's more like a one-on-one situation.
Yeah, hey, can I?
Yeah, I mean, I guess could be, are they three bad people? Are they one step away from prison? Are they three teenagers acting like teenagers?
Right, jerks.
Yeah. So, yes, so we'll go a little bit of a speed round. Haya and then Harry.
Yeah, I was just going to say a real quick response to that is remember, and this is what Marjorie said at the very end that I really appreciated. We're all made from God. We all come from God. So if we can remember that, and so maybe that person, hasn't learned that yet, has an issue, has whatever, they're still had been created by God. So I am going to give them the benefit of the doubt. And as long as they're not hurting me, their voice, I know I can just, that's it. One second.
Thank you. Harry. You remember to unmute, please.
We talked about the challenges of being welcoming, especially today with the high rate of anti-Semitism and what's going on in the world. And so it would be wonderful to be open, but I think you have to still be cautious and think about who you're welcoming, and just do it with care.
Yeah, that's right. And maybe that's part of the too much honor. Maybe someone, it's like, well, this person I thought was a friend and an ally, and they haven't shown up in that way. So am I going to start bad mouthing them? No, but maybe I'm going to withdraw some of my support from them. So it's another wrinkle, I think, on what you were saying, Harry.
Yeah.
Different level of discernment. Anyone else? We have time for maybe one more comment. Yeah, Marjorie.
I think by honoring, even somebody that's disparaging, I look at it as ultimately I'm honoring myself. Like you said, I'm not bad mouthing. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna try to, have a discussion that's, like trying to pry, like, why do you put the ball in their court? But ultimately, it's just like, I'm not gonna waste my energy and my time, and I have to honor me. But, I'm curious. I want to know where people are coming from, sometimes to a default, and you just have to oh, I guess it's time to end this discussion.
Yeah, and that feels a little related to kind of our first one too. How do we want to clothe ourselves? And sometimes we want to clothe ourselves in our exit jacket.
Yeah. Can I just ask? I just have one point. It goes back to your second, oh gosh. Oh, about giving them a curse, about giving the person that we are not honoring.
Mhm.
I think that maybe my statement kind of goes back to that, is like even if there's somebody that I don't agree with, I don't want to curse them either, by like disagreeing and dishonoring them. I still try to see that little spark, that made in God's image spark.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful thought, and it's a nice extension of what Rabbi Wolbe was saying, because he was saying if you don't recognize them, if you just ignore them, and so we can carry that further too. It's sort of like trying to see, well, what's their point of view? What is, I don't need to curse them, even if I don't understand or agree. Beautiful. Well, my friends, what another wonderful session. Let's once again close our eyes. And I've kind of been enjoying the sort of silent meditations to close, so let's go with that again. Just a nice leisurely breath in and a leisurely exhale. And allow your mind to settle to just a few moments of silence to close our sacred time together today. When you're ready, you may open your eyes.